Yes, I did know that the actress who plays Amy is a neuroscientist in real life. It's almost like that's the reason why a neuroscientist is reacting to this TV show. Crazy. Hi, my name is Morgan and I am a neuroscience researcher, and I'm sorry for that really up close and personal intro, but the last time that I reacted to The Big Bang Theory, the main comment that I got, like, so many people commented that the actress who plays Amy is a neuroscientist in real life, which I said within the first 5 minutes of that video. So now I'm saying it within the first 5 seconds. Hopefully less people comment that, because it's just, I get notifications and it's just annoying because it's just so many of you just telling me that, and I know. In case you couldn't tell by that intro and the title of this video, today we're reacting to another episode of The Big Bang Theory. We are reacting to season 11, episode 5, the Collaboration Contamination. Not sure what happens in this. Like I said in my last Big Bang Theory video, I am a very casual viewer of The Big Bang Theory, so I've seen a lot of the episodes, I know the characters, but I'm not that invested in the plot. I do think that The Big Bang Theory is a really interesting show, considering that they hired a real-life neuroscientist to play their in-show neuroscientist. I said this in my last video, I'll say it again. I think it's awesome that a neuroscientist gets to be a consultant on a show that they're also starring in. And she said in interviews that she got to tell them what would normally be in a lab and be a neuroscience consultant for the parts of the show that are in her lab.
Big Bang, that is a show that is very serious about getting the facts right. When they talk about science, they want the facts to be right, even though I'm watching it, it could be anything. You know, I'm like a cat. they could write anything on the board. Do you actually help them keep the facts straight as a neuroscientist?
When I auditioned for the part, on my resume under miscellaneous, it says PhD neuroscience because I didn't know where else to put it on an acting resume. So I put it under miscellaneous. And Bill Brady.
Where most people put juggling.
I did. Speaks Hebrew, Spanish, PhD in neuroscience.
Wow.
And Bill Brady, our creator, executive producer at the audition, said, "Is this for real?" I said, "Yeah, it kind of is. I have a PhD." So when they brought me back for the 4th season, he said they figured why not make her what I am so that I can, fix small things if they're wrong. But generally, they get pretty much everything right.
So I talk to my writers about oh yeah, I'm not sure that was the funniest way to go. You correct them on no.
That's not the region of the brain that does that.
But also because of that, I feel a little bit justified in nitpicking the show and picking apart little parts of well, that would be in a lab, that wouldn't be in a lab sort of things, because they had a neuroscientist on set. I do say in all my reaction videos, and I mean it, that I understand that this is a comedy show meant for comedy purposes. They weren't thinking, hey, this is neuroscience and we're trying to educate people about the brain. I know that, I understand that. But you clicked on a video that says neuroscientist reacts to Big Bang Theory. So I'm going to react to it and pick it apart. These videos tend to bring in a lot of new people, so while you're here, hi, my name is Morgan, I'm a neuroscientist. I make other neuroscience content as well as doing these react videos, so feel free to check out the rest of my channel. I post videos every Wednesday. Before I fully start this video, I want to say, in the last video, I called out a homophobic joke, and aside from people telling me that the actress who plays Amy Farrah Fowler is a neuroscientist in real life, the other most common question or comment was either, no, that's not homophobic, or you're a neuroscientist, why are you commenting on social things and stuff along those lanes. So I'm just gonna put this out there. On this channel, we support the LGBTQ plus community, and we also support women. So if I see a sexist and or homophobic joke, yeah, I'm gonna call it out. I'm a person, I'm an ally, I'm a feminist. I'm not gonna let those things slide. Unfortunately, a lot of comedy, back in whenever The Big Bang Theory was popular and nowadays, relies heavily on sexist and homophobic jokes. And I think it's okay to still consume and enjoy media that has those jokes, but it's important to acknowledge that they're there and that they're inappropriate. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about the very casual misogyny in The Big Bang Theory, there's a really great video essay on it that I'll link in a card up here and in the description if you'd like to check it out. Like I said, I'm a very casual viewer of The Big Bang Theory, but I do enjoy it and I do think it's funny. So I'm not saying not to watch it. I'm about to watch it. I paid $2 on Amazon to watch this episode. So I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying it's okay to call out things when you see them. So like I said, today we're reacting to season 11, episode 5, the Collaboration Contamination. Whenever I pick these episodes, I just Google episodes of The Big Bang Theory in Amy's lab. So supposedly this has things happening in Amy's lab. If it doesn't, I'm sorry, that's what Google told me. If you can think of episodes that are in Amy's lab that you would like for me to react to, leave them in a comment below. I'll be sure to check them out. Also, if there's other shows or movies or YouTube videos that involve the brain that you'd like to see a neuroscientist react to, leave those in the comments as well. Oh, last thing before I start this, for copyright reasons, I'll be cutting out all of the parts of the show that aren't in Amy's lab, partially because like I'm a neuroscientist, I'm just here to comment on the neuroscience, and also because I'll get like sued or a copyright strike or something if I post the entire video.
Well, at work we've been doing some interesting research with neuroprosthetics.
Neat. I've been rewatching the OC, so we're all leading productive lives.
We've been working on a computer interface that can use brainwave patterns to control robotic limbs.
That's a real thing that people are working on that I think is super cool. If you'd like a video on it, let me know. I think it's really interesting. There's also an episode of Grey's Anatomy where they touched on this. But yeah, there are people out there trying to figure out how to make prosthetics connect to your brain. I'm like 99.99% sure that there are prosthetics out there that can feel the electrical pulses in your arm. So like say you have like down to right here in your arm amputated, so you don't have like this part of it, they can make you a prosthetic that does the rest, and it uses the electrical pulses right here to move your hand, which is super cool. So I think we can get there eventually. I think we can do it. And that's a really interesting instance of teams who are working on that usually have like a doctor and a neurosurgeon and a neuroscientist all like working together. I think it's really cool whenever the researchers can collaborate with the actual medical field to put something together. That's just fun and cool and interesting.
But we're having a little trouble localizing the signal from the EEG cap.
Oh, well, have you thought about adding a phased array of sensors for better localization?
Actually, that never occurred to me.
That was so many more science words than I'm used to the show having.
Never occurred to me I would miss the Ewok conversation.
Good, because I just bought another one on Amazon.
You know, I could use an engineer on this project.
Well, no, this works out great. Howard's an engineer.
See, that's what I'm saying. You get to collaborate with so many people. And this is what's really cool about research in general. You do get to collaborate with a lot of people. My research, I've mostly collaborated with like statisticians, so not the same thing as an engineer. And I mean, still fun and cool and interesting. You get to interact with different people. But depending on the projects that you're working on, you do get to interact with people who are outside of your field and learn more about their field and what they're doing and how their research works. I've also worked a lot with psychologists, being part of a behavioral neuroscience lab, and working with psychologists even is so different from working with neuroscientists. It's fun to do.
I'm sure he knows someone qualified.
She was talking about me, Sheldon. I'm perfectly qualified.
Yeah, Howie's the world's best engineer.
I have such an issue with the way that they treat Howard, because I think the joke here is that they all have their PhDs, and Howard either only has his bachelor's or his master's. Like I said, I'm not like a huge person in this show, but like, I don't know, people in academia tend to have this like hierarchy in their mind of that, like, if you have your PhD, you're better than people with your master's, and if you have your master's, you're better than people with their bachelor's, and like so on. In my opinion, I think it has to do more with the amount of experience that you have. Someone with their master's who's been doing research for 10 years knows way more than someone who just graduated with their PhD. So I hate this hierarchy, and I think a lot of newer scientists are sort of trying to break that down to where, I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a master's and not a PhD. It really just depends on what you're trying to do with it.
Says so right on his coffee mug.
Aw, you got him a mug?
I did. But it's not a competition.
Yeah, I lost that battle years ago.
So, Howard, are you interested?
Are you kidding? If I could control robot arms with my brain, I'd be able to do so many things.
Really? Because you've been controlling human arms with your brain for years, and not much has come of it.
It is really cool to be able to control other things with your brain. So as far as I know, these prosthetics haven't been fully developed. I think they're still in trials. But there are some cool things that I think you can just buy on Amazon. I know a lot of like physiology professors have them for labs, where you can connect electrical electrodes to some part of your arm. Usually you connect it like around the wrist, and then you connect different electrodes to someone else's wrist, and you actually move someone else's hand with your mind. And so you can like close your fist and the other person will close their fist, because it's reading the electrical pulses going down your arm, telling your hand to close, and transferring that over to someone else, sending those same electrical pulses. So it's super cool and interesting. It does like, it's awesome to do. I've done it a few times in different like demonstrations. It's fun.
Amy, your lab is amazing. A C-arm fluoroscope, a cranial ultrasound.
I swear every time they show her lab, it looks different, which is fun, but like, you don't move labs that often.
And look at that coffee maker.
I know.
They have a coffee maker right next to a hood. Okay, so if you've never been in a lab, labs have designated areas where you can eat and drink in order so you don't contaminate different specimens with like whatever you're eating. And so whatever your specimens are, don't contaminate what you're eating. Like you wouldn't be eating next to like fixative, because what if that got in your food? This has them right next to the Air Clean 1000, which I don't think is a real brand of hood, but the fume hoods are meant to be extra sterile. Normally, I'm guessing since this is a neuroscience lab and they have like posters of cells and stuff up everywhere, they're saying people do cell culture in there, which is where like you take one cell or like a bunch of cells and then culture them into even more cells, and they're so sensitive. You don't want to like, you have to ethanol your arms before sticking them in a hood. Like you have to be so sterile, and like you can't like wave your hands over it because you don't want like skin cells to fall off into the petri dish. Like it has to be so clean. You would not have a coffee machine right next to that. Also, as just like a fun side note, scientists are not typically the cleanest people. So fun story time from me. I was on a lab once that had a coffee maker. Most labs like don't, because that's provided by the people in the lab and who's going to buy a coffee maker for an entire lab. But this lab that I was in had a coffee maker, and it was so dirty that like I cleaned it and it had like a visible like film of coffee that you could like wipe off, and it was like that thick. It was so gross and disgusting. And they just like had that in a lab, like in the designated eating space, but still obviously it was very like unsanitary in like a lab full of extremely clean stuff where you like bleach counters all the time.
On our expense report, I listed it as Eduardo, my Colombian lab assistant.
That's awful. There are some grants that allow you to buy personal equipment for the lab. And I guess maybe if you tried hard enough, you could justify a coffee maker. Usually people spend on like laptops or something. Wow.
So, this is it.
Yes, we are using it to map brainwave patterns and then converting them into electrical impulses that can be used to control anything from wheelchairs to robots.
Based on that ring on your finger, I'd say you're pretty good at controlling robots.
Careful, that's my fiancé you're talking about. And I can program him to hurt you.
So that hack that they had, that was pretty accurate. Like, I mean, it's pretty easy to Google like an EEG cap. But yeah, that's what they look like. They measure brainwaves. It's fun.
Howard and Amy working together, that's interesting, huh?
It's all right, I suppose. Look, when Amy complains about her coworkers, I just tune her out. But now I'll be able to join in and pound away.
It is nice whenever your significant other knows the people in your lab. I'm not saying that I ever talk trash on the people in my lab, because I don't. I love my lab and they're very sweet. But it's nice to be able to say like, oh, so-and-so did whatever today, and your significant other like knows what that means. So if you're dating a scientist, get to know their lab members. Or really, that's good advice for anyone. If you're dating someone, get to know the people in their life so that you can interact.
Jealous of Howard, are you?
Well, of course not. Now, the only engineer I'm jealous of is the one who blows the train whistle.
I am also not jealous of being engineers, but for very different reasons. I think engineers have a very hard job and they are very intelligent and they do very good work. Physics and engineering terrify me. I barely got through physics. I can't do it. Like, I respect them. There are a lot of degrees and majors that I think I probably could have done. Engineering is not one of them. So mad respect to anyone who's able to do engineering.
Add phase detection to your EEG sensors. I'll have to rewrite most of the code.
Well, can you do that?
Well, these hands were made to do 3 things: close-up magic, writing code, and the dirty shadow puppet show that got me kicked out of Hebrew school.
That was a lot. But fun fact for those of you out there, so I'm not good with computers. I'm very bad with them. I don't understand how to code. But whenever you become a neuroscientist, you have to learn these things. So I can write very specific codes now. There's a surprising amount of neuroscience that involves coding, either to set up different experiments or even to be able to learn more about the brain. There's a lot of aspects about the brain that we talk about, like a computer code. They're not the same thing. They're 2 separate concepts. But in order to like be able to understand and process them. We talk about them like a computer. And so I actually had to learn a lot about coding in computers in order to even just understand things that are happening in the brain, to be able to understand the analogies that people were making in order to make brains easier to understand.
Hello.
Hi. What a nice surprise.
Well, I just came by to see how you two were getting along.
Well, everything's going really great.
Oh, that's nice to hear. I was hoping you two would enjoy working together.
What's with the blinking?
It's Morse code.
This has nothing to do with what just happened, but I'm noticing the skeleton behind Sheldon, and I have a little skeleton right here, so that's fun. And also, like, Amy's lab, just every time I watch these, is just goals, which I know is like on a TV set, so that's why. And also because they had a neuroscientist on set, they were probably able to get more things that like neuroscientists would enjoy. I would love to have all of this stuff in her lab. She has such nice and fancy equipment, which I know because it's a set, it probably doesn't work, but it makes me very happy to see.
So we can talk about without hurting his feelings.
Sheldon, I don't know Morse code.
I do. And if you have something to say, you can say it to my face.
Oh, all right.
I hate all of that, but this is really interesting just show-wise, because I considered, and I filmed a reaction video to this, but I'm not posting it. I'm not posting it because there was no like actual lab stuff in there. There was like maybe 10 minutes worth of like actual lab content, and the rest was like relationship things. But in the other episode that I watched, Sheldon was actually like really upset about having Amy in the same lab as him. So it's kind of funny now that he's jealous of someone else working with them.
She's going to be home at 8-ish. What is that? 8:01, 8:02? And what kind of scientist uses ish?
Oh my God, we all do. You never know how long you're going to be in the lab for. Like, I cannot tell you how many times I've like texted my boyfriend like, hey, have dinner ready at 8, and then I'm home at like 10. Like, you just, experiments take so long and you have no clue when you're going to be home. Most scientists don't really have like an actual schedule. So like, I'm never like, I'm going to go into the lab at 8 and come home at 5. It's always like, I'll go in whenever and also get home whenever. I imagine because Sheldon is this way and Amy is the way that she is, they probably would have more of a set schedule. But whenever you're collaborating with other people, also you never know when you're going to be doing things. I had a collaboration one time where I like had a meeting with someone that was set for 10 a.m. and they were ready at 11. So it just, you never know how long you're going to be doing science for.
Hey, Bernadette.
Hey, Raj. Howard's not here.
I know, he's been at the lab every night this week with his work wife.
That's weird. I thought his work wife was standing in my kitchen.
The term work wife and work husband bother me so much. Men and women can be friends. I know that's a revolutionary concept, but just, you can be friends with the opposite sex at work, and that's fine. Adding like wife and husband to the end of it makes it a commitment that it's not, and also somehow makes it cheating. Like, I don't know, just call people your friends. Like, they're your friends. You can be friends.
Hi.
Welcome home. How was work?
Great. Howard had an idea.
That's enough about work.
That's so rude. One thing that I tell people all the time, like whenever people are asking how they can get involved in labs or how they can get like involved in science, is that scientists love to talk about their research. You ask us one question about what we do and we'll go on forever. I started a YouTube channel to talk about my work. Like, we love it. So if you want to get involved in science, you want to get into a lab, literally go up to someone who does research and be like, hey, I'm interested in your lab. Can you tell me something about it? And they'll just talk forever. And then they'll be like, I'm so happy that someone's interested in what I'm doing. Please join my lab. But in this case, if you're dating a scientist and you ask us how our day went in the lab, listen to the answer, because we're probably either very excited about something that happened or something really awful happened. Those are the two spectrums of what it's like to work in a lab. You're either super happy and ready to talk about everything that's going on, or you don't want to talk about any of it. It seemed like she was genuinely excited to tell him what was happening in her lab, and I'm sad that he cut her off like that.
Oh, you just got here. You need to sit down and let me pamper you.
Oh, well, that sounds nice.
I got you a little something to help you relax.
Sheldon, that is the sweetest
This is a side note. Whatever he's doing is probably bad, and I'll talk about that whenever I find out what's going on. But if you want to get scientists really cool gifts, there's this place on the internet called Cognitive Surplus, and they make these notebooks that have neurons on them. They make them for other subjects too. Highly 10 out of 10 recommend a neuron notebook.
What is this?
The notes from our quantum cognition project. I thought we could spend the evening grinding away on it.
Okay, see, yeah, it was weird.
I just got home. I'm tired.
Yeah, of Howard, I know. So how about you and me make some beautiful science together?
Sheldon, I want to work on this with you, just not tonight. What if we get up early and do it in the morning? I promise I'll be way more into it.
I don't like how they're trying to make this sound like a conversation about sex, but that's whatever. Also, if there's, again, this is nitpicking for fun because you clicked on Neuroscientist reacts to the Big Bang Theory. But if this were actually a notebook about like a project that they were doing, it would be a lab notebook. And usually lab notebooks are like a red color with like a black binding on the end. I'll insert like a photo of a lab notebook here. Again, nitpicking, but that's all I have to say about this.
You know what? There was a time that you would have been happy to stay up and collaborate all night with me, and then wake up in the morning and do it some more.
Fine, but can we make it quick?
No! If you're just gonna make me do all the work, then go to bed. But don't be surprised if you walk out here and catch me doing it myself.
I'm gonna extend the wait time and have it pull the A to D converter at the top of the loop instead of the bottom.
That's impressive.
You think that's impressive? Pick apart that brain model.
Oh my god, 3 of clubs! That was my card!
This is a great lab relationship. I'm not an engineer and I don't work with EEG, so I have no clue what he just said. But that's fun. It's always good to have like lab jokes or like inside jokes with your lab mates or be able to interact with your lab mates as like human beings. This is great. This is a very healthy lab relationship and I love it.
I used to make it appear in my pants, but HR said I had to stop doing that.
And he had to ruin my love for this relationship.
So how much longer until we can test it?
It needs to compile, so it's gonna be a few minutes.
Sounds like we've earned ourselves a break.
You wanna hear some Neil Sedaka?
You know, that's your greatest magic trick, because you just read my mind!
I have to pause this because of copyright reasons. I definitely don't have rights to that song. But this is also a fun thing in labs. If you and your lab mates have like the same taste in music and you're just like blasting, like my old lab, we would like blast Taylor Swift while we analyze data. Like that was just super fun. This is a wonderful lab friendship and it's great. I will say something that I just realized in, I think, all of the episodes in Amy's lab, there's never like undergrads or postdocs or grad students. So that's weird. The only time that really ever happens is if you're like a brand new PI at a new university. So like you just graduated grad school or you just got done being a postdoc and then you get a position at a university. And they usually give you like 1 to 2 years to start recruiting people for your lab. And those like, before you start recruiting people, it's mostly just setting up the lab. You're not like actively doing research. If you don't have other people in your lab is not really accomplishing very much. But I mean, this is a TV show. They probably just didn't want to pay for the extras. It's fine, but it's something interesting to comment on.
Yeah, see Calendar Girl. I love my Calendar Girl. Each and every day, oh yeah.
Pausing it again, because I don't know how long you can play that for without copyright.
January.
Hi.
Hey.
You say you're busy as bees, yet here you are, dancing. Although, I suppose bees...
Okay, this is something that happens all of the time. There are so many steps in experiments and in science where you have to like wait for like 2 hours. I used to run an experiment that you had to start at 8 a.m. and it would finish at like 6. But there were like 2 to 3 hour waiting periods in between the steps. So technically like I had a long day, but also I was hardly doing anything the whole time. So yes, we're busy doing things. Just some of our stuffs take a while. I'm getting very defensive because I've been accused of this before.
Do dance, but their dance lets other bees know where the pollen is, and yours does not. So my logic, despite that slight detour, does track.
I'm just waiting for my code to compile. What are you doing here?
I stopped by to see if you wanted to go to the movies with me.
Because I'm going to be cutting out the like non-lab related stuff. I probably didn't include this bit, but Raj is jealous because Howard's spending so much time with Amy.
I'd love to, but we're just about to test the interface. It could take a while.
Okay, buddy, it's not my place, but Bernadette's been feeling a little abandoned with all the hours that you've been putting in.
You just asked him to go to the movies.
Yeah, but our weird relationship was grandfathered into their marriage, and yours was not.
It is something that's important that a lot of scientists have taken into consideration to like spend enough time with their significant other. Science tends to attract people who are willing to spend all of their time in the lab. If like it were up to me of how I spent my time, I would probably live in a lab. So we have to like consciously make an effort to not do that.
You know, once we get this operational, we could probably figure out how to make it wireless.
That'd be amazing. Oh, that's Sheldon. Oh, he's upset with Leonard and Penny. And Bernadette. And Mark Twain.
Yeah, Bernadette texted earlier. Raj is really getting on her nerves.
I guess we have been working late a lot. Should we call it a night and go home?
Or we could brew a pot of coffee and power through.
I don't know, it's getting kind of late. Hey, where's my watch?
Why don't you ask your skeleton?
Oh my God, how's that even possible?
That's a great gag. I appreciate it. But yeah, it's important to make time for your significant other no matter like what's happening. Sometimes in science, there are times where we have to work late and we have to like be in the lab or we have to be like writing a paper and we have like deadlines that we have to meet. But if this is like an optional side project that you're working on, try to like be respectful of your partner's time as well. All right, so that is the end of that episode. It was funny for the most part. There were some like lab inaccuracies, which I pointed out. But overall, pretty solid episode. Like I think it was fun. I think it was a good concept. Like I said, it's important to develop like a balance between like, you know, like a work-life balance, a balance between the amount of time that you're spending at work and the amount of time you're spending with your partner at home. So I hope that this video was fun and entertaining. If you have other shows and episodes that you would like for me to react to, like I said, please leave those in the comments. Or if you have video suggestions, you can email me at askaneuroresearcher@gmail.com. I'd also like to say a huge thank you real fast to the people who've been subscribing. I have gotten so many new subscribers and I truly, truly appreciate you. I have something really cool planned for if I reach 1,000 subscribers. So I'm excited to hopefully reach that mark at some point. If you're interested, you can follow me on social media. I'll have them all listed here. Also, I was a guest on a podcast recently, which is super exciting. I will have that linked in the description, and I recommend you go check it out. It was fun for me to do, and I talked a little bit about my research and what I'm doing as a person and as a scientist. So go check it out. And with all that being said, I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.